Speak Up with Vernisa
and Jen.
It's time to speak up.
Hello, everyone. My name is Vernisa.
Hey, y'all. This is Jen.
And this is our podcast, Speak Up. What's up, Jen?
Hey, girl.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. Guys, that we made it to episode 73.
Y'all, we're almost at 80 now.
Yes, time just be flying. For those of you that don't know, me and Jen are best friends. We create this podcast, use our voices to motivate people to overcome life's challenges through self-love and respect.
That's right. Self-love and I'm so sorry. I'll fix that. Self-love and respect are two core values we hold near and dear to our hearts.
Yes, most definitely. But before we get started, a quick shout out to our amazing sponsor. Shout out to My Bar, located at 720 East Manchester in Inglewood, California. Get your nails done, your lashes, your brows done, and tooth gems. Ask for mine. Tell them that SpeakUpJV sent you. You can book your appointment now. The Instagram is at myy.bar.
And shout out to our other sponsor, Be Actual Natural. Why settle for less? All their products are created with you in mind for a goal to let your self-love show through your self-care. Their chemical-free hair and skincare products are handmade, plant-based, and free of fillers or preservatives. Treat yourself while you're taking care of yourself. Start your journey at www.beactualnatural.com or check them out on Instagram at beactualnatural.
Yes, you will not be disappointed. So today our episode is titled Respect the Space. What space we respecting, Jen?
Everybody's space, y'all. We not just talking about physical space here. We talking about head space, mental space, whatever you want to call it, but it's all in here, right? That's the type of space that we're going to start respecting today.
Yeah, and we're going to go deep as far as like it even be the wavelength, the energy that people are on, whatever. All that stuff is basically all related. So we're going deeper as in how to recognize the space that you're in and the space that others are in. So it's really about acknowledging that, because anyone in your life, right? You guys are in two different mindsets and stuff, and it's just not clicking. But then that's where all that drama steps in, or just irritation and stuff. Because end of the day, if y'all not aligned with each other, or there's two different things you guys want, it's going to fall apart.
Yeah, absolutely. This is why self-reflection matters, right? At the end of the day, we always talk about checking in with yourself and making sure that you're able to take other people's situations in. So it's the same thing with somebody else, acknowledging what type of space they're in. But first, we only know what's going on in our head, right? Even if somebody does tell us they're not in a good headspace right now or anything like that, we need to identify where we are at. And you can only do that by sitting by yourself, or just really writing down with yourself, whatever it is, but it has to be done alone for you to really think about, am I in a good headspace right now, or am I in a not so good headspace?
Yes, and I'm glad you mentioned it, because I feel like the more you know about yourself, the more you can recognize it on others, what space they're in. And we're going to talk about boundaries too, like being able to put those walls up when it's becoming a little too much. Because sometimes we're too much for everyone else. Like, we're not in the best. So I think that isolation period is very important.
And I know it may be hard to say, like, oh, I'm not in the right headspace for this or anything. So it's not even necessarily having to voice it out to anybody else, but mainly voicing it out to yourself, right? Because if you're not acknowledging what kind of feelings you're going through, or what kind of emotions you're dealing with lately, then yeah, you're not going to be able to just really tell yourself, okay, yeah, it's not a good time for me to be a good friend right now, right? Or a good sibling, or whichever. So when you start doing this, you're actually taking that accountability for yourself, and you start to learn more about yourself too. Like, well, okay, why am I not in the best headspace? And then you can kind of just go from there.
I love that key question, why. That question, why this, why that, helps me actually get through things a little quicker, because I'm like, okay, let me get to the root of it and work through it at the end of the day. And also too, we have to like take accountability when we're bringing other people down. How many times all of us are probably guilty of this. We weren't in the best headspace, and we subconsciously were bleeding on someone, or trying to make them feel as low as we did, because we weren't in the best and they were in a whole nother level. And I think like Jen said, it's not easy, but once you start to acknowledge how you really feel, it's easier to know, okay, it's time for me to step away. It's time for me to take some time to myself. Like, I like to take little breaks from people and isolate when I know I'm not in the best, because I know how it feels for that to get bled on me when people aren't. I wish they would have took that time for themselves.
And it's okay, right? This isn't demonizing anybody for being in a certain headspace, or you being different than other people in your life. It's just more of really knowing that it's out there, putting it out in the open, like, hey, I've noticed that you can't really be there for me right now. What's going on? Like, it actually gives you initiative to check in on other people in your life, right? Because it's one thing to acknowledge it in yourself and really know, but if let's say you're in a good headspace and then somebody else is not, if you want to be around for them, or you really want to check in with them, then that's your opportunity to do so. And then whatever they decide to do from there is of course up to them. But this is why we need to start checking in, because it is important to be aligned with the people in your life, right? You do need to start hanging out with people who are maybe in the same headspace as you, or maybe just understanding where you're at and you understand where they're at. And it's like, okay, I understand this person, so I'm going to give them their space if they need it, or they're going to give me my space if I need it.
And also with alignment is deeper than just like the mindset. It's also like going after what you want. So we're talking about all relationships in your life, anything, you know. When you guys have that similar drive at the same time, that's how like the best partnerships are made, or the best things are made. But if like one person is right here, one person's right here, one person wants one thing, one or the other, that's where those differences start to kick in.
And that's okay too, right? Like, again, it's just knowing who you got to keep around, who maybe you can have for a certain thing in your life, but maybe not for other things. And knowing too that there are consequences when you're not acknowledging or even understanding the space someone else is in, like how you were saying earlier, right? If somebody bleeding on you or you bleeding on them, that's definitely a big consequence. Because how many of y'all out there, I mean, I know I'm guilty of this, have just reacted to a situation way more dramatically than you wanted to, simply because something else bothered you. You're in the wrong headspace for that particular situation, but it's not even because of that. It's just because of something completely unrelated. And then now you're taking it out on everybody else, and it's like, oh shoot, well, everybody's just out to get me and blah blah, and all this stuff start to go in your head, but you not realizing that it's your own creation too, or even somebody else, right? We've seen that where they take their things out on us because of whatever they're going through, and then that's a consequence of them not trying to understand themselves.
Yeah, and it's like a way to run from it or numb it, like let me put it on whoever. Another consequence is, let's say you're surrounding yourself with people, like, you know, you have big goals, right? And then people you're around, they're kind of complacent, they're okay where they are, and you know, you're doing your thing and stuff. That's how envy can start to kick in, because if you're like, you know, confiding in these people who have that crabs in a barrel mentality, trying to pull you down and stuff, that's another consequence. They're going to be the ones throwing riches at what you're doing and stuff. And if you're not acknowledging, okay, this person's mind is here, I'm trying to elevate, that's how that happens, where you kind of get pulled into that stuff, and then you end up falling for the tactics of the jealous person, or the person that just doesn't really want to see you win, or you feed in their fears. Like if they're like, oh, I don't think that's going to work, you're in that environment with them, so you're going to kind of start believing, and then guess what, it stunts your growth, because you're surrounding yourself with people who, you know what I mean, you're not acknowledging where they are. And I've been learning that too, like really questioning my inner circle. Who am I spending the most time with? Who am I telling business plans to? Who am I telling my business to? Like all those things all play a role and stuff, and you become more exclusive about who you are and stuff, and you know, you become more protective about who has access to you.
Exactly. And this is why knowing someone's headspace is part of the vetting process. I think that's huge. You know, we can love somebody all day long, whether it's friendships, family, or even romantically involved, but it doesn't mean that they're the best person for us to be around or to be telling our things to. Or like I was saying, right, you have certain people where you tell certain things to, and you realize like, okay, yeah, I'm not going to tell this person my goals over here, because yeah, that envy may kick in, but you still have to be around them for some reason. Or, you know, you still love them, like they're not bad people, it's just they don't believe in themselves, so you're not trying to catch all of that onto you, and that's okay, right? Like we're not saying, oh, you're better than somebody because you're trying to go over here and then they're trying to go over there, or they're still in a certain, it doesn't matter. Like at the end of the day, it's just acknowledging we're on different paths, and whatever path I'm on, I'm going to keep the people who are on that same path with me.
That, and then with the whole path thing, it helps you to not take things so personal. Like when you really acknowledge, okay, this is, you know, this is what they're going through, this is how they're feeling, this is where I'm at, you're not going to do that. Because I've been in those spaces where I wasn't acknowledging the space people were in, so I would take everything personal. Why are they treating me like this? Why this? Why that? Why aren't they so supportive? I'm doing this for them, but they're not doing that, or vice versa. Or I'm doing stuff, I'm minding my own thing, but people are taking it personal how I'm coming off to them, but it has nothing to do with them. And honestly, that was the cheat code to that. Really understanding where someone is at and where you are, that helps you alleviate all of that.
Yeah, and that's, I'm just gonna keep saying that's okay, right? You know, because it's just, it's not, this episode is not about like making people feel bad for being different from somebody else or whichever. Like people do grow apart at the end of the day. So, you know, we're gonna kick it in with acknowledging space in romance. Like sometimes even before y'all get romantically involved, like maybe you're in the talking phase, right? Or you're in the dating phase, whichever, or even in the relationship phase. Sometimes people change in relationships, they fluctuate. So just acknowledging that that person may for one, not be looking for what you're looking for, even if you are in a relationship, right? Maybe you're looking towards something in your future. Maybe you're planning to move out the country, or you don't want a wedding, or you don't want kids, whatever it is, and maybe that other person isn't looking for what you're looking for. So this is why it's important to not only acknowledge the space that this person is in, but also talk about it, right? It's not enough to just assume that, oh, okay, maybe they're just not ready. If somebody hasn't actively told you that they're not ready for it, don't assume for something. Or if they haven't told you that they are ready, don't assume they are, right? So just continuously checking in with this person, even at the very beginning stages, because I think this is where a lot of us mess up in thinking that somebody's going to be there for us, or yay, we're both headed together, we both like each other, and that's cool. And yeah, attraction's not enough though. So asking them from the very get-go, having those hard conversations, is the only way you're going to be able to acknowledge where someone's at romantically.
I'm glad you brought up the word assumption, because I think that does happen a lot. Like we'll just judge it off what we know about them, like, oh, this person just went through this, I know, or whatever, or they're they've been single for a long time, so I know they're ready for something. Like we do all those things, and then we start to talk to the person, and it's something completely different. And it's like, you're right, I'm glad you brought up communication and things like that, and then respecting where someone else is at. So if it's clear that they're this, don't blame yourself for that. Don't think you're not enough because that person isn't ready to be in something, or because you want to. That has nothing to do with you. I really learned a person could be attracted to you, have feelings, whatever, even think you're this amazing person, but if they're not in the space to make that further commitment, they're not going to, because they're not there, and vice versa. So it's really about, once you acknowledge that, you're not going to take in that way of, I got to do all these things to make this person want me, or going through all that. Really with dating, and honestly dating really should just be really vibing and seeing if you and the person click. Like I feel like our generation that made it so complicated that we added all these extra things to it, or we're not taking it as serious as we should, or really trying to get to know the person. We're just stuck on judging a book by its cover, that we're not acknowledging what space people are really in. So that's how those toxic situations start. So we're trying to force someone to be a certain way and they're really not. We're getting mad at them because they can't provide certain things because they're not in the space to do it.
Exactly. But if we never talked about it, how the heck are we supposed to know when that's supposed to happen? And honestly too though, with all of that, don't ever blame yourself just because they're in that space. Like how you were saying, we're really trying to emphasize that in the sense of, it's not your fault. Sometimes we meet people in certain parts of their journey that they're not prepared for, and as much as we're ready, we wish that was the person, we wish they were open to this, to that, whatever, that may just not be the case. And we have to learn to be okay with that, and just realize that, okay, if we do decide to put up with this person for whatever space that they're in, we can't let them drag us down being in that space, right? You have to be equipped for whatever you're about to go through, because you made that decision to still deal with that person. If you're seeing that they're emotionally unavailable, or that they're just talking to you a certain way, or whichever, but you decide to still go along and talk to that person, well, be prepared for what's coming with that, and vice versa, right? If you let somebody know, hey, I'm not exactly ready for something serious, but I'm open to it, then also acknowledge that, okay, you made that decision to open that door for that person as well.
I love that you said that, being equipped for whatever comes. And let's talk about too, acknowledging space and family. This is a huge, because our family, they're our family. We have to deal with them, they're in our life, and unfortunately we go through things with our family as well, right? And one thing that's been helping me, if I have a disagreement with a certain family member or something like that, instead of taking it personal, allowing it to drag me, it's acknowledging why they're probably it's coming off this way. What is in their head? What are they going through? And so that gives me peace. Or knowing when I come off a certain way, why I'm coming out that way. And I think honestly, when we have, let's bring up communication again, that's big. I feel like we definitely should have that in our family.
Yeah, definitely. I think family is one of the big ways, or one of our excuses to be toxic, right? Yeah. I think family sees a whole side of us that other people in the outside world don't see. And that's not okay though, because at the end of the day, these are people who, if they're important to you, you're gonna have to be seeing them around, be talking to them and everything. So words hurt no matter what. The way someone reacts to a certain situation and takes it out on you hurts no matter who you are, whether you're their mom, their sister, their cousin, whatever. At the end of the day, if you are taking out your issues out on somebody else, especially a family member, knowing how that might affect your dynamic in that relationship with each other, and just learning that even the hard conversations in family is important. That I think, for me at least, having hard conversations in my family is one of the hardest things we need to do, because not only is it just the comprehension that's not there. It's just the traditions, you know, certain customs that certain family members have, that it's like, oh shoot, you know, they're not going to understand me because they grew up a certain way, but let me do my best. As long as we're just doing our best to open those doors for those conversations, then we'll be able to understand the types of headspaces our parents are in, our siblings, you know, our cousins, aunts, uncles, whatever. We just need to be open to receiving that type of communication.
That's true. And then understanding that everyone handles emotions differently. You got people who are more closed off, more people that show with anger. You know, it's just, once you understand how a person moves and why they move the way that they do, I feel like it becomes easier to do that. And then you're acknowledging that space. And then it's not such a complicated thing where you're like, they're taking their stuff out on me. Sometimes some people, I'm gonna be real, some people are unhappy with themselves. So it's gonna come out. That's how they come out to other people, because that's how they treat themselves. They're gonna treat other people that way. So it's really about understanding what's going on.
Exactly. And knowing too that not everyone wants to get out of the space that they're in.
Woo,
I think this is hard, because as much as we want to help, especially the people in our family, you know, we may care about them, we see them struggling a certain way, you know, we see things from the outside. Of course, we don't know everything or what's best for them even, but we try. Sometimes they just don't want to, right? They just want to be in whatever they're at, or their demons got such a handle on them that nobody else is going to be able to take them out except for themselves, as long as they're willing to, you know. But that's another thing too, like, don't judge somebody when they're not ready to get out of that space they're in. People grieve differently, people, like you're saying, handle emotions differently. So everybody just has their own little world inside that you have to respect and realize that what's working for you may not work for somebody else.
Oh, I'm glad you said that. That's a really good one. It made me lose my train of thought because it was so good. Oh, so that's what I was gonna say. I was saying too, like, you know, you have to show compassion with people too. I learned it's okay to love some people from afar, you know, if that's what you have to do, and show them that you're there for them when they're ready. You know, still send those encourage. You know, if it's someone, you know, you've been trying to help them out, they're not willing to listen. Every now and then, still send your encouraging words. Send that "I love you" text. You know, I miss you. I'm just checking on you. It's okay to still check on these people while they're battling whatever they're going through. You know, it doesn't mean you have to fully be mad. I ain't talking to you no more. I've been learning just to be compassionate. You know, just, it's all love here. I see you. I love you. It's all peace. I forgive you, and you keep, because that's how you keep your peace.
Exactly.
Because we start to, you know, I've been watching Star Wars lately, so you know, it talks about anger and fear, how that brings out the worst in us, and it's not good for, you know, like, it's good for your spirit and stuff. And it's true, when you're holding on to grudges, anger, and fear, you're actually in a trap. You know, with that connection, you're creating a deeper emotional attachment with that connection, where it's going to start to hinder you. When you come with things with love, peace, and forgiveness, in a day it cuts that from you, and it's like, that's on them to work on whatever you have to work on, and you take your path.
I mean, like I've said before, you know, with anger, the only vessel it's hurting is you. Like, it's like a poison that the only container that it's in is you, right? At the end of the day, even if you're angry with somebody, they go on living their lives, you know, they go on doing what they got to do, and the only one that's getting these headaches, you know, this anger just rising up and your blood pressure going up and all that is you, you know. So don't ever let anybody else have that much control over you, even if they're family, even if they're romantically involved with you, whichever. Like, make sure you always maintain autonomy of yourself, and just learning to accept protection disguised as rejection, right? Sometimes we're gonna be like, oh, well, why me? Why didn't this person want me? You know, why are they being this way, blah, 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 why this, why that, blah, blah. We could ask ourselves that all day long, but it's like, realize that sometimes things don't work out for you because they are working out for you, if that makes sense.
I like that.
Realize that when something is telling you no and taking you a whole different direction, one, it may be way better than you had ever anticipated. You know, you may meet somebody who's way better than the person you're hung up on right now currently. Or two, that you're just meant for something different. Okay, it's fine to be that way. And I know with family it's a little bit harder, you know, and even with friendships it may be a little hard, even romantic too. It's hard to accept that when somebody doesn't love us the way we want to love them, or doesn't respect us the way we want to. But at the end of the day, that's okay too. Not everybody is meant for us. We're not everybody's cup of tea, so not everybody's going to be our cup of tea either.
Yeah, and that rejection could be you constantly getting hurt by them until you're finally ready to let go. And it's like, I learned those are things to not ignore, because it's like, okay, this is definitely trying to show me something. And let's talk about space with goals. It's also too, let's get on like more business partner tip, or like, you're trying to start something with somebody. Acknowledge how bad y'all both want the goal y'all going, whatever, the group, whatever, how bad you guys want what you guys are going after. Is there someone that's more passionate about it, someone that's ready to put in more work on it? And acknowledge, all those things. And also with your own goals, like acknowledge when you're not in the space to go after that goal. Like me and Jen did an episode on taking a pause. It's okay to take a break, that mental break, because I like to write poetry, but if I sit there and try to force myself to write a poem, nothing comes up. But when I have that moment where it's like, ooh, this is something I really want to write about, it comes out so fast, and I think honestly, that's how we have to view it with our goals. Make sure you're ready to go after whatever it is.
Yeah, whether you're going after it or currently taking that pause, being okay with either or, right? And being okay if you're alone on either or. Like sometimes when you need to regroup with your business partners or whatever, sometimes y'all all need to take that pause, right? And just really revamp or talk about everything and just decide like, okay, maybe this is a goal we wanted to do 6 months ago, but now that we're revisiting this, we want to go a whole different direction. Or maybe, like you were saying, just go completely on your own if that's something that you really want to do and you see that nobody else is following through. And then learning to be okay if you fluctuate between either or, right? Because it's not healthy to just be all one straight shot and then no rest, no play, nothing at all, like not reaping the rewards, not even taking time to smell the roses. Because when you do that, you're missing out even on the smallest of progress for your goals. And that headspace is just always going to keep getting deteriorated and emptied out, because you're going to be like, okay, well, I'm not there yet, and even though that's okay, if you're telling yourself I'm not there yet, when are you ever going to see the finish line or the light at the end of the tunnel?
And there's honestly things that you can do for yourself to get out of these spaces. And like Jen is saying, take that pause, take that break, whether you have to isolate, all those things will group you for that revamp or whatever. Sometimes relationships be revamped, everything, throw the whole thing away and figure this out, even with yourself, your whole everything, girls, we switch our hair up, we get our mind right. You might want to take on a new coping mechanism, whatever. These are different ways to get to elevate yourself to get out of whatever it is that's holding you back.
And this is the beautiful thing about life too. Like if you're still waking up, you still have a chance to reinvent everything in your life, right? Maybe taking it slowly, realizing, okay, I haven't been doing certain things correctly. I have been sabotaging my own goals, my own relationships in my life. So let me sit down with myself and start one by one making amends, or, just making amends with myself even. Like before you start trying to fix anybody else in your life, fix yourself. That's the only way you're ever going to be able to really realize where the deep-rooted situations are. Because even if somebody is treating us a certain way, one, if we are continuously feeling a certain way about it, that's coming from something too. And then two, okay, asking myself, do I even want to be around this person? Do I even want to be in this relationship anymore, or anything like that? So when you're really actively just asking yourself, what space am I in? Am I trying to get out of it? What's working for me? Then you're gonna start realizing how many actual ways to cope there are, right? It can be journaling, it can be meditation, exercising, whatever it is, as long as it's healthy for you, then that's a good way to start getting yourself out of that space.
I love that. And also too, if you want to help someone who's in a certain space, honestly, you got to make sure they're even open to the help, because you got people who they're so not open to, they're going to push you away or damage you along it. So first start there. And then if it's someone who's more like about it, that's where that loving them from afar kind of comes in. You just still send them, just motivating words, things like that. Also too, don't be afraid to leave a person where they had you effed up at too. Somebody is so too damaging to your spirit, to your life. They're not even, they're trying to pull you down. It's okay to leave them right there. You ain't gotta say nothing. There's so much power in that silent, pull it out. Sometimes I'll pull it. It's the best. Sometimes you don't have to argue. You don't have to argue. You ain't gotta tell you did this in a paragraph text like our reel we did. Like all that stuff is save your energy. Sometimes your silence is enough.
And this is why boundaries are super important. We all have our limits, and it's actually better for us when we don't reach them, but when we know what they are, right? When you know what's a deal breaker for you, when you know this ain't gonna slide with me, then going from there, right? But if you're setting your boundaries from the very beginning, then it also too isn't a surprise when you do draw back silently, when you leave that person, when you are loving them from afar and you're like, okay, you talk to me when you're ready again. That is super important in not only letting them handle what they gotta handle, but you handling too. That's another part of your self-reflection where it's like, okay, what am I doing with this situation? Do I even want to continue with this situation? You know, sometimes we get so caught up in saving somebody else's emotions or worrying about them and, you know, do they fit my lifestyle and blah, blah, blah. Well, yeah, ask yourself, do I even want to be around this person? After seeing what I've seen, is this the type of person I want to keep interacting with for the rest of my life? And if not, then start setting those boundaries. And if that person's not respecting them, then go ahead and cut them off.
You know what you got to do. But a quick shout out to one of our sponsors.
Yes, so shout out to A&J Books. Whether you need a journal to compress at the end of the day, a notebook to take notes in class, a planner to organize schedules, or an activity book to keep the kids busy while you work from home, A&J Books has many options for your family to unleash their creativity. They have so many beautiful illustrations on their journals that them in itself, like before you even start writing, you already feel this type of piece. So make sure you check them out on Instagram at A&J Books. That's A_and_J Books. Again, Instagram A_and_J Books.
Yes, I'm already loving mine. My free write one. She got her bullet one, so we're doing well. And honestly, y'all, all this relates to self-love because self-love is acknowledging the space that you're in. It is acknowledging the space that others are in to protect your peace, you know, and to be the best version of yourself that you can be so you're not harming others or allowing yourself to be harmed by others.
Yes, you're still being able to pour the love that you want to pour into others back into yourself, right? And learning to be patient with yourself when you're not in the best space. I know this is hard, especially for me. I get so mad at myself when I feel anything other than happiness or joy.
Cry,
yeah, I'm like, why am I feeling like this, you know? But it's okay. Like, we're humans, right? We're complex emotionally. So, of course, there's going to be certain times where we get triggered or we're just not in the best headspace. For us women, you know, we do fluctuate with our cycle monthly. So, of course, it's going to be a whole other battle that we have sometimes that we feel out of control with. So make sure that you're just being patient with yourself. If you're going to be patient with somebody else, might as well go bring that back into you.
I love that. And also too, patient too when you're even tired. When you that's the one I get. Like when I feel like I just want to rest all day, I'll be like, man, like you need to get your ass up and go do something. It's like, no, like be patient with yourself through those moments, you know. And it's okay to isolate when you're not in the best space. It's okay to tell your friends, hey, I need a couple hours to myself, a day to myself. Whatever. Me and Jen do it all the time. We'll write each other, hey, best friend, da da da. And hey, it's no hard. We don't take it personal. We understand each other. We understand we need space from each other sometimes or whatever it is, you know. But it's about that, you know. So it's all good.
And just remembering that you are in control of your own decisions. You decide what you want to put up with, right? Like at the end of the day, we just get so caught up in why this person this, why that, blah, blah, blah. Honey, you have control. You are able to decide if you even want to keep putting up with them, family or not. You get to be able to say, okay, I want to deal with them less or not at all. Or just, you know, if they change their ways, then cool. If not, then I can just leave.
For real, I love that. End of the day, what's for you is for you, and who is for you is for you. So good or bad, whatever, if it's for you, it's going to be in alignment. It's going to stay around. If it's not, it's going to come apart. Trust me, something will happen, and it will fall out. But yes, well, like Jen was saying earlier, something better will come for you. Maybe not at that moment, but it will come. So be patient.
Yep. And leaving y'all off with knowing that if you're not in the best headspace right now, it doesn't have to last forever. I'm sure y'all have heard this too shall pass, right? So sometimes, you know, if it's not a more clinical diagnosis, sometimes the headspace we're in, maybe it just happens to be a certain transition in our lives, a certain chapter that may be a little bit more difficult for us. So it doesn't have to be that way forever, right? As long as we remember that we are in control of our emotions, that at the end of the day, if we have people to run to help us a little bit, or if we just want to be out in nature, that's okay too, whatever you're deciding to do. But just reminding yourself there is a light at the end of the tunnel and that you can make it as long as you keep showing up.
I love that. We appreciate y'all tapping into our 73rd episode. Before we go, a quick shout out to our amazing sponsor. Shout out to My Bar, located at 720 East Manchester in Inglewood, California. Get your nails, your lashes, your hair done. Also get tooth gems. Ask for mine. Tell them that SpeakUpJV sent you. To book your appointment, the Instagram is at myy.bar.
And shout out to our other sponsor, Be Actual Natural. Why settle for less? All their products are created with you in mind for a goal to let your self-love show through your self-care. Their chemical-free hair and skincare products are handmade, plant-based, and free of fillers or preservatives. Treat yourself while you're taking care of yourself. Start your journey at www.beactualnatural.com or check them out on Instagram at beactualnatural.
And a shout out to our newest sponsor, A&J Books. Whether you need a journal to decompress at the end of the day, a notebook to take notes in class, a planner to organize schedules, or an activity book to keep the kids busy while you work from home, A&J Books has many options for your family to unleash their creativity. Hit them up on Instagram at @A_AND_J Books, and their website is in their bio. But yes, thank y'all if you're watching this video. Please like, subscribe, comment, share this with your friends. We also do live episodes on the Good News Radio, live every Thursday at 8:30 p.m. PST. Check us out on Twitter at SpeakUpJV, on Instagram at SpeakUpJV. And yeah, we'll be back to y'all soon. Love y'all.
Love y'all.